Hi, my name's Steve, and I am a student recruitment officer with the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering at the University of Toronto. I'm just going to say a quick introduction. Today is a really exciting day for me. Today is the first day of my 11th year doing student recruitment. It's my third year with the University of Toronto. I spent my first 8 years out west in Calgary. And I have been to CIC many times before as a representative of the University of Calgary. But home is Toronto, and I moved home in 2015. And today is also my first day doing presentations as a married man. So I'm also very excited. Thank you. I'm very excited about that as well. So what we're going to do for the next 30 minutes is talk to you about U of T engineering, the programs, how to apply, some of the things that we require. I know a lot of you saw the University of Toronto presentation last week, so I'm not going to go over that same stuff. I'm not going to talk as much about the campus and about the city itself, because the stuff I want to talk about is specific to engineering. Before we start, really important point. Engineering kind of exists off on its own at U of T. So when you apply to the University of Toronto, if you're applying to engineering, we have a completely separate application from the other programs. We have our own admissions office. We have our own support team working on your application. So I want you, if you forget everything else I say today, just remember this. We are here to take care of you. And when you leave here today, if you have any questions, I'm the person that you can always turn to ask them. I am our office's international student recruiter. I do a lot of work in and around the GTA, but I also travel overseas to the Middle East, South America, India. So if you have any questions, I will answer them myself, or I'll get you in touch with someone else who can. But we're going to get to all that at the end. The first thing I want to talk about is the program itself. Now, there are a lot of numbers that we are really proud about at U of T Engineering. The number I think we're most proud about is number 1. We are the number 1 ranked engineering program in Canada, and U of T itself is the top ranked university in Canada according to all 4 of the world's major university rankings. So that's something we're really proud about, and it's something we've worked really hard to achieve and that we continue to work very hard to achieve. We have students from 100 different countries in our program. And at the end of first year, 95% of our first year class successfully continues on into second year of the program. It's an incredibly high success rate, and it tells you that we bring in some really great students to the program and also take really great care of those students while they're at U of T. So a little bit about engineering itself. Now, I think most of you have a copy of the view book, but if all of you could flip to page 17, we'll get started talking about the program and how you actually get into engineering. So, when you apply to our program, you apply to one of 3 entry points. And they are as follows. You can apply to a declared major in what we call our Core 8 programs. So the Core 8 programs are kind of like the big engineering programs like civil, chemical, mechanical, computer. Those are the Core 8 programs, and they're listed on the left-hand side of page 17. So you can declare your major right from the time you apply. You can also come in the second way as an undeclared student. So when you're an undeclared student, you're applying to what's basically a general first year program where you take courses from all the different engineering disciplines, and then at the end of that, decide what you want to take. Really important point for that. We guarantee that you will get the program of your choice if you enter the undeclared program and then maintain an average of 60% or a passing average in your first year. Some schools will make you rank your program choices. We don't do that. If you get admitted to the undeclared program, you are going to get into your major of choice for your second, third, and fourth years. So I really like that because it takes a little bit of pressure off you in that first year. The third entry point is kind of a standalone program. It's our engineering science program. Now, all of our programs are 4 years in length. The core 8 programs, you do that one sort of foundation year, so the introduction to the engineering, and then for the next 3 years, you're in your specific major. Engineering science is a little bit different. So engineering science, you do 2 foundation years, and the big emphasis is on theory, math and science theory. So you do a lot of really in-depth work, really to understand how engineering principles come to exist. And then, in your last 2 years, you go into one of 8 specific majors for engineering science. Sorry, just give me 1 second. And those are listed on page 26, I think. 26. So 2 years of foundation, and then 2 years in your specific major. So for example, for those of you who are interested in aerospace engineering, that's the program you want to be looking at. All of our programs are 4 years in length. You will leave all of them with a Bachelor of Applied Science degree. And when you graduate from U of T, you're graduating from one of the most recognized universities in the entire world. You are graduating into a global alumni network of 500,000 living alumni, including 50,000 from engineering. Your degree is portable. It will allow you to work anywhere in the world, whether that's in Canada, back home, anywhere else. It is a portable, flexible degree, and that's one of the really, really big things to think about when you're considering coming to U of T. Some neat things about our program. So first of all, does everyone here know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about co-op internship? Yeah, we're good? Okay, so we're almost there. So, co-op internship, we have what's called an internship program with our degrees, all of them. And if you go to page 12 and 13, you'll see more information on the internship program. Now, I want to just make sure everyone understands the difference between internship and co-op. When you do sort of a more traditional university style co-op, usually the way it works, you go to school for a term, and then you work, and then you go to school and you work, and you go back and forth between the two. The way we've set up our internship, you'll go to school for 3 years, you'll take your 4th year off, you will do your internship, you will work for 12 to 16 consecutive months, and then you will come back and complete your degree. So you're still only in school for 4 years. It's going to now take you 5 years to graduate. You don't pay tuition the year that you are doing your internship. You are paid to do the internship. It is a paid internship. Last year, the average salary was about 50,000 Canadian dollars. So it's a good opportunity to make money. Last year, 70% of students who did the internship were given a job offer before they finished their degree. So it's great from a career standpoint. You can do the internship in Canada. I think you probably know this. You probably actually know this better than I do. But international students are able to work in Canada as part of their degree, on campus, off campus. That includes the internship. You can do an internship in Canada. You can go back to your home country and work. If you'd like to go home, maybe live with your family, save some money, you can do that. Some students will go to a country they have no ties to at all. So get a complete international experience as part of their internship program. So there's a lot of flexibility in where you work. We also offer programming during the summertime. So if, for example, you're in Canada and you have to be gone in 4 years because of some stipulation from a scholarship program, you can work during the summer. You can do research with professors. We have a lot of ways for you to work as part of your degree. Just a few more numbers, backtracking a little bit. 9 programs, so 3 entry points, 9 different programs. 9 minors and 9 certificates that are specific to engineering. So those are ways of taking your main degree and adding something to it. I know a lot of people tend to be interested in engineering and also business. The one business minor offered by Rotman Commerce at U of T is the engineering business minor, and you can combine it with any of our programs. Minors are usually about 6 courses, certificate courses usually about 3. So you can add those to any of your degrees. You can also do courses or even a full minor in the Faculty of Arts and Science. So we don't want you just to study engineering your whole time at U of T. We want you to take courses outside your degree if you're interested as well. Back at the start of the presentation, I talked about 95% of our first year students continuing on into second year of the program. It's not just because we admit outstanding students, it's because we take great care of our students as well. These are the supports that we offer. In particular, the first year office, basically what they do is they hold your hand from the time you finish high school until the time you finish first year. So for academic advising, you're going to go directly to them, and then they're going to pass you off to your specific program. The Engineering Career Center, they'll help you find an internship. They'll also help you find a career later on. And again, at the end of the day, my job is to be a resource for you as well. So if you have questions during the application process, let me know. I know that this is a confusing process already, let alone that for many of you, this is your first time really getting used to the Canadian school system. Students who've lived here their entire lives don't necessarily understand how to apply to university. So for those of you who are brand new to Canada, this could be a big challenge. This is the reason that I have a job. Don't ever apologize for having questions. If you have questions, let me know, okay? So it's 94% success rate, not 95, 94%. The 6% of students who don't continue on into second year of the program, almost every single one of them actually transfers out of engineering and does something different. They thought the program was something it wasn't. They go into something else and they succeed in that program instead. So that's where the 6% go. 94% of you will successfully carry on into second year. Before we talk about admissions, residence is guaranteed to everyone, whether you're from Toronto or the other side of the world. A lot of engineering students live in this residence at 89 Chestnut Street called Chestnut Residence. We have so many engineers living there that there's actually 3 engineer themed floors. So again, it's a guaranteed residence. The application for residence is separate from the rest of the school and it's due March 31st. Dedicated programming for engineering students, embedded counselors, which means advisors from engineering are actually basically living with you to support you in your first year. And that's Chestnut. It's about a 15-minute walk from the engineering complex. I know that some of you have heard about Scarborough campus and Mississauga campus. All of the engineering courses are downtown at St. George campus. So you don't need to worry about the Mississauga or Scarborough campus. All of our buildings are in one corner of St. George. So here are our admission requirements. Grades earned in required courses, your overall academic history, your online student profile, English language facility. I'm going to start at the bottom with English language facility. We're going to have all of you do TOEFL or IELTS. There may be exceptions. If you think you might be an exception, email me. But to be safe, do the test. And I know most of you are going to do it anyway. Our requirements are the exact same as the general U of T requirements. 100 on TOEFL with a 22 on the writing section, 6.5 on IELTS with a 6.0 or higher in each of the bands. Engineering applicants can also be eligible for the International Foundation Program if they write a test, achieve a certain score, but not quite the minimum score required for entry. The IELTS or TOEFL scores are a minimum requirement. It doesn't, put differently, a 6.5 on IELTS and an 8 on IELTS are the exact same thing. So there's no, if you get an 8, that's fantastic. But if you get a 6.5, that's okay too. There's no advantage to having a higher score on the language test. They're basically there to make sure that you're going to be able to succeed in the primary language of instruction at U of T, which is English. Grades earned in the required courses. Now this is where things can sometimes get fun. What we're going to do is we're going to assume that everyone here is going to be looked at as an Ontario high school student. When we are looking at applications, where you're born doesn't matter. Where you're studying does. The required courses are English, which you can replace with a test score, advanced functions, calculus, chemistry, physics. We require those courses for all of our engineering programs. Now, one question we sometimes hear, well, I'm not doing chemistry, I want to do computer engineering. Why are you making me do chemistry? The reason we have the same requirements for all the programs is because when you train to be an engineer, you're not just training to be a computer engineer or a civil engineer or what have you. You are training to be an engineer. You need to know what people in other areas of the discipline are doing. And also, if you decide later on that you want to take some courses that are outside your field, you need to have that background. So that's the reason we require everyone to have those courses. We're looking at your overall academic history. What that basically means is we want to see students who've been strong throughout their high school career. Now, this is one of those complicated situations where some of you will have been here for a year, some of you may have been here a little bit longer. Every one of you is going to probably be asked to submit something that's a little bit different. So let's just say for now, good grades throughout high school. Whether you've done all your high school in Canada, whether you're from China or Russia or Nigeria or what have you. The online student profile we're going to talk about in just a second. So the admission process is the same as with other programs at U of T. The application deadline is January 10th. The sooner you apply, the better, because the sooner you start to upload transcripts into our application portal, the sooner we can try and begin to assess you. We try to make most offers for international applicants by April. However, for those of you who are already here, obviously, you don't need to do the same thing with your study permit as other applicants. We will at the very latest have an answer for you, hopefully, by early May, so that you have plenty of time for the June 1st Ontario University deadline. Okay, so here's the online student profile. So on one hand, in order to get into engineering, you need to have great marks. What kind of marks? Anywhere from the mid-80s to the low 90s, depending on your program. For engineering science or the undeclared program, you really want to be in the 90s. For most programs, if you're in the high 80s, you'll probably be fairly competitive. In some cases, you might be okay in the mid-80s, but certainly aim for the 90s. If you miss and you're in the high 80s, you'll be in good shape for a lot of our programs. Now, you got that on one hand. On the other hand, you have your online student profile. So, you apply to U of T. A few weeks later, you get sent a link to this. The first thing you're going to do is actually pick the engineering program you want to take. You get 4 different choices. The first choice and the second choice, how should I put this? Your undeclared or engineering science have to be your first choice unless you apply to both of them, and then the other one can be your second choice. Otherwise, those have to be your first program choice. You can't have engineering science as your 4th choice. But you get 4 different program choices. You rank them 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we can't admit you to your first one, then we look at your second, then your third, and then your 4th. Your educational timeline is basically everywhere you've been to high school. So if that's just here, that's okay. If you've gone to a couple of different schools, just make sure you list them all on your application. Extracurricular involvement. Anything you've done outside the classroom. I think at the beginning of the presentation, I told you to remember just one thing, that I'm here to support you for this. I want you to remember 2 things, okay? Remember the word leadership, okay? Can you do that? Leadership? When you're filling in the extracurricular activities, you're going to be asked to explain what those activities are. And when you're explaining them, don't just say, I played soccer. Tell us how you developed as a student leader while playing soccer. So I want you to think about that activity in sort of a bigger way than maybe you've been doing. Think about how you've shown up for practice every day, how you've worked hard, how you've been an influence to younger players. Because when the departments are looking at your application, they are going to look at leadership ability as a very big factor in the admission decision. If you have super marks, like marks in the high 90s, this stuff is still really important. We look at it for every applicant. You cannot get in if you don't fill it out. But if your marks are a little bit lower, this can make the difference between you getting in or not. So spend some time on it. It's really important. The last step is the personal profile. Now, have any of you heard that there's a video requirement for engineering?
Yes.
Okay, because if you haven't, you're going to hear it now. There's a video requirement for engineering. There's a 3-step process, and I'm going to make it as stress-free as possible. At the end of your supplementary application, you are going to be directed to the online student or to the personal profile, and you're going to be asked 3 questions. You are going to answer the first question with a 2-minute video. The second question you are going to answer with a 10-minute written response. The third question you are going to answer with a 3-minute video. First things first, this is not a quiz, okay? We're not going to ask you to solve for X. We're not going to ask you to prove a calculus equation. We aren't going to do any of that. We are going to give you a problem and have you solve it. And what we want to see is we want creative thinking and strong problem-solving skills. We're also looking for good communication. Remember this too, you are not being graded for your grammar, okay? So if any of you heard communication and instantly thought, oh no, they're gonna look at grammar. We don't look at grammar. How well do you communicate? That's important. But if you make some mistakes, that's okay too. What kind of questions do we ask? So, first of all, there is a practice video question. You can do it as many times as you want. But when you actually start the personal profile, you do it 1 time and that's it. So the questions are not given out in advance, but the format is something like this. In a town of 3,000 people, how many gas stations do you need? Now, there's no right answer to that question, okay? So forget trying to find a right answer. What we want to see is how you come to the answer you actually come to. What is your thinking process? Did you think creatively? Did you think of some new ideas that maybe other people hadn't come up with? That's the stuff we're looking for. So don't worry about being exactly 100% right, because the questions don't, I mean, one of the questions that was actually asked is how many ping pong balls does it take to fill the inside of a shopping mall? Again, there's no right answer to that question. The point isn't to get the answer right, it's to show us how you got to the answer you got to. And that's the application, that's how it works. We're almost at the end, almost at question time. Finances. So, as my friend here said, we're being looked at as Ontario students, but we're still international students. If you have a student visa or you're not a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, then yes, you are considered an international student. You pay international student fees. You also are eligible for different scholarships than our Canadian applicants. In particular, I want to highlight this one. The Pearson Scholarship for International Students is the major award that we offer incoming students to U of T. There's 37 available from all over the world, including some in Canada. So it's the major award we offer. You'll want to start with this now. Other scholarships you apply for automatically by submitting your application. For the most part though, beyond the Pearson Scholarship, And also, there's also another one you may have heard of called the International Scholar Award for Engineering. We don't think that it's going to require a separate nomination like in previous years, but if we do, there will be a link from your students or from your portal. That's the one that requires a separate application. Everything else should be done automatically. This is the final slide, and then we're going to get to questions. So that's my email. My name's Steve, or Steven, whichever you prefer. Take out your phones, take a picture. You are all welcome to email me with as many questions as you want. The only thing I ask you to do, please don't apologize when you email and say, sorry, I have questions. Because students all over the world almost feel like they're intruding by having questions. But here's something that I can tell you as someone who has been to university and done a couple of different degrees at a couple of different schools, including the University of Toronto. This is a really big decision that you're about to make. I know you don't need me to tell you that. I just met you, and you don't need me to say to you, choosing which university you're going to attend is really big, but it's really big. And the more work you can do now, the easier the decision will be later on. If you can make it to campus, please come and see us. We do engineering tours 4 days a week, but the big day for us in the fall is October 21st. It's our fall open house. If you've never been to U of T, come take a look at the school. Come see what it's like to actually be on campus. Because if you feel good on our campus, chances are it's something that you should pursue when you're applying to university. But if you have any questions at all about requirements or things like that, send them to me. If you have questions about study permits, they can go to me and then I'll send them to someone else because I can't answer them, but other people can. But please, send me your questions. Just let me know where we met so that I can put some context to it. And I'll be happy to have the longest conversation with you to help you decide that this is the right place for you to be applying, okay? And I really mean that when I say it.